We are here and ready to get started. And so just to do the quick overview before I turn it over to our great presenters, we are doing this to help people walk through the IowaGrants.gov process. It's specifically linked to, we're talking about the Child Care Employer Incentive Grant, which many of you have already been working on. So now we have some experts to help you facilitate, figure out how do I do this in Iowa Grants, and we'll go from there. And then two presenters, and then we'll take questions and try and provide as much information as we can. So again, thanks for your patience. I am turning it over, I think, to Brian first. Are you first, Brian? I think that was what you told me. Yep, awesome. So take it away. Thanks, Brian.
Sure. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Dennis. I am a program coordinator with Iowa Workforce Development. I'm joined by my coworker, J. Patrick Rice, who is the grant administrator. So we're going to run through a short PowerPoint that walks through how to navigate Iowa Grants, and then Patrick will also do a demo of how to, again, if you've not started an application, how to start an application, and some place where you can find a lot of useful information with that. And then we'll definitely have space for question and answers regarding either the system or the grant itself. So I'm going to share my screen. And if I can get a thumbs up or a yes, you're seeing the slides, that would be fantastic. I'm seeing a thumbs up there. All right, and then are you now seeing the full slides? All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. So again, my name is Brian Dennis, and again, I'm joined by J. Patrick Rice, who's our grants administrator. So first off is we'll just run through how to navigate IowaGrants.gov. So up first is how to actually register. So again, some of you may have already done this or previously been registered in Iowa Grants, but if you're starting off new, here are the initial steps. So first you go to the link on the screen, IowaGrants.gov, and you would then, depending on where you're situated. So if you've already done an application or fully registered in Iowa Grants, you would come in as a returning user. But if you're going to be someone that's newly doing this process, you're going to click on new users, sign in here. So pretty standard. I'm assuming most of us have registered in websites before. Next up is once you go click on that you're going to be a new user, what is going to show up is really how we do the original registration, which is your first, last name, and then again, you click register. From that point, it takes you to a screen and you actually will set up your user ID. So for most individuals, what their ID is their first and last name with no spaces, and then at the domain of @Iowa ID. All right. If that's already in existence, like anything else, you'll get it's already in existence. So you may have to add a number or something to make it more personalized. But that's the first thing you do is select your account ID. And that is what you'll use when logging into the system when you get your full registration done. It'll pre-populate with your name, with your first and last name. Then you add in the email address that you want to have connected to this. So whatever would be the email address that you want Iowa Grants to use if you're ever contacted. Once you save those account details, you will get this screen that you will get a confirmation email. So this should be one of those pretty much automatically generated emails that you need to go in and confirm your email to make sure that the email that we're sending information to is a live actual email address. So as soon as you hit confirm, you might want to jump into your email. Hopefully within a few seconds, something shows up in your inbox. If it goes more than a few minutes, definitely more than like 10, 15 minutes, check your spam, check your junk file, just to make sure it didn't get routed there. Again, this is going to process most of us have gone through with websites before, is that you'll get a link, you choose those lovely security questions we all know probably by heart at this point, and you're going to confirm the password that you'll use in the system. All right. So then you can go into Iowa Grants and you can log in with your new username and password, and then you'll need to finish your actual activation of your account. So you can do all the magic of applying for a NOFO. So when you set up your new user information, it'll ask you a lot of basic information about yourself, your name, the title within your organization, if you choose to share that. Again, the email, confirm it, a physical address of where your office is located, and a contact phone number. But it was also really important that you need to list out what is your program area of interest. There are going to be several options for you. For those of you that are interested, obviously, in the child care employer incentive or business incentive grant, that is actually run through Future Ready Iowa. So it'd be a good idea to list that as your program area of interest. A lot of times we may see people list child care because it sounds similarly, but really your area of interest should be Future Ready Iowa. So you see it in bold and highlighted on the screen. You click register, and then what will happen next is that an email will be sent that you are fully registered and we need to go in and activate your account. So that email goes to both Patrick and myself. And Patrick usually beats me to approve, and people, he's pretty quick on the draw there. But I would also say that we get these looked at daily for the most part. I would say that unless you send something in at the very end of the day on a Friday going into a holiday weekend, it should really not go more than one business day before you get approved. Pardon me. If for whatever reason you sent something and you've not heard back, again, there are emails as well as our phone numbers. It will not hurt to give us a call or shoot us an email that's going, hey, I registered 3-4 days ago. I've not gotten it activated yet. And again, maybe there may be something that going on there. For some reason, maybe we missed the email. That's unlikely. The most likely scenario is we've actually gone and activated your account, but the confirmation email that you've been activated went to your spam. So again, you may want to just check your spam to see if anything is there. But those are the first steps when it comes to actually activating your account as a new user. So I'm going to pause just for a quick second here and see if we have any questions either in the chat or folks that, well, I think it's the chat zone. You can ask questions. Are there any questions about the first steps with doing your registration? All right, I know some folks may be typing, but I don't see anything pop up yet. If something does, I'll address it. Now what happens once you have your account actually activated is surfing through IowaGrants.gov. And again, some of you may be extremely familiar with this, but in case you aren't, we'll just talk about some of the more common screens. And again, Patrick's gonna reinforce this by doing a live demo here once I get done. First off is actually finding the funding opportunity. That's really important, right? Everyone wants to hopefully be funded, so you got to be able to apply, right? Kind of like the lottery, you can't win if you don't play. So the way that you find the NOFO is what you see on the screen is the landing page. So once you actually log in as a Iowa Works returning user, excuse me, an IowaGrants.gov returning user, this will be your home screen, your landing screen. So this is where you'll start. And if you ever get lost, if you hit main menu, it'll take you back to this screen. So you find funding opportunities by doing what? You click on funding opportunities. When you click into funding opportunities, though, it's going to be a screen full of opportunities. Some of them may sound similar. Some of them may be from previous years. And it's really easy to go, I'm not sure where to find the actual opportunity I want to apply for. A great way to do it, though, is to simply do a control find feature. So if you're not familiar how to do that, if you do a keyword search by holding that control and the letter F, a small box will show up at the top of the screen, usually on the right-hand side, and you can enter text. And at that point, you can enter anything that's kind of related to the grant's title. I personally, when I've tried this, if you type in childcare, and make sure though, if you type in childcare, it is 2 words. You type it as 1 word, it won't trigger it necessarily. So childcare, 2 words. And if you type in business, those first 3 words, childcare and business, it would take you directly to the grant. You can also just type in the number of the grant. So if you type in 452557, again, 452557, that is the number of this opportunity. If you type that in, it will take you again directly to the grant. I do believe this is obviously being recorded. I do believe we'll have this posted as well. So for those of you that may be writing notes fiercely, you will be able to go back and review this as well. But that's how you find the opportunity, and then once you find the opportunity, you begin your application. So when you click on the opportunity, it's going to bring you to a screen that lists out the details of the actual NOFO. So this will be the first part of that, which lists, again, the name of the grant. So you see Child Care Business Incentive Grant. Some really important information. Number one is the application deadline. So keep in mind that this grant, your application is due by July 18th at noon. July 18th also happens to be my birthday. I don't know if Patrick did that on purpose. But if anyone wants, remember with any gifts or anything as well, that's perfectly fine. I'm kidding. But again, the grant is due on July 18th at noon. And then you see the other things such as projected start date, projected end date, and you see Patrick's info there's our grant administrator to connect with if you have any questions. You can also copy an existing application, start a new one, and there is an opportunity to ask a question. On that same page, you keep scrolling down, there's going to be a list of the various appendices, and we'll talk about this more, especially during the live demo. But this grant, like most of our opportunities, have a variety of areas that you need to add in information. So those are the different appendices that have additional guidance about how to navigate the site, a question regarding the grant, examples of different items that you need to update and upload into the system. Finally, is beginning your application. And the way that you begin your application is you click Start a New Application. We were very creative over here in government. But if you click Start a New Application, it will bring you to a screen and it will do a couple different things. Number one, it will list the registered applicant and your organization. As you can see, it has Brian Dennis with IWD. This info automatically populates. You don't have to worry about filling that in. What you do need to do is name your project. So basically name your grant. You see, I put in demo CCBI app 1. That's just so I can make sure that we know this is a test application. By the way, if you title something and then after you get your project title, you realize you misspelled something, you want to change the name, you can always edit that, but you do need to come up with a project title to begin the application. Once you've done the project title, you see a list of different forms that you have to complete as part of the application process. To complete each of those forms, simply click into them and begin providing the information. The first option, the general information, is that application form piece you've already done. As you can see, it has complete automatically checked. However, again, if there is any information that you want to go in and change on the general information, like the name of your project, will probably be the most likely thing you want to change. If you click into it, there is an edit button. If you click edit, you can change the information again. Let's just say you misspelled something, you want to make sure that it's spelled correctly. In each of these application forms, as you complete them, it will give you the option to hit complete at the top of the screen. I suggest to make sure that all of your grant is done, that when you complete a section, you feel really good. If you answer the question, you have things uploaded, you feel good about it, click complete and that black check mark will show. So guess what? Once you have a check mark by all the sections, your grant is actually ready to submit. And at any time, you can always hit preview to look at the information you've already provided. Also, I just want to make sure to mention, I'm sure most people can figure this out. You don't have to do all of your grant application in one sitting. You can do it bit by bit, but just remember that things have to be submitted by July 18th at noon. The last few things we have before Patrick is going to show us our demo is some of the attachments that you will apply as part of the application process. So if you click where it says application attachments, it will take you to this screen. And in the application attachment, there are 4 different attachments that you upload as part of the grant. One is your budget spreadsheet. There's a template of the spreadsheet that you will use, that you'll use to fill in your project's budget. Any letters of commitment, if you have multiple letters of commitment, please combine them into one single PDF. That is how the system will really read it, that you can attach one file. So if you have, let's say, 3 letters of commitment, please combine all 3 of them into one document and upload it in that section. Same thing with the matching funds, upload everything as one single PDF. And then the final one is the project plan. Again, we have an example of the project plan in Appendix E that you can do to fill in the project plan for your funding opportunity. Before I turn this over to Patrick to do our demo, just again, and you'll see this when he demos, there's a couple things just always to keep in mind. If you're not sure about where you're at in the system, if you hit the main menu button, it will always take you to this screen. And always get familiar really with the funding opportunity, and especially the appendices down here. Some of these are PDFs that just give you guidance in regards to this. Some of them may be templates. So there's the project plan and the budget form that you need to use when completing your grant. So I would get really familiar with those. And with those appendices, you may want to print them out or download them just so you have them handy. But with that, I do see we have a question in the chat. It says, if we're a car dealership and we're applying for this, when we fill out the first part of the information, how do we know the organization type, publicly traded or held? What is the publicly traded or held? What is the difference? So a publicly traded company basically means you have stockholders. Okay, so I don't know how your particular organization is oriented, but usually publicly traded means you have stockholders. And again, it is publicly traded on the stock exchange. So that will only be if you feel that applies to your organization. But I will also ask Kathy or anyone else if they have any additional comments on that particular question.
I don't have any comments on it. I think just pick the one you think is best. That's typically not going to be something that we're really focused on unless there seem to be questions about, the organization or we're looking at the organization, when we're reading, how are you capable of doing this? And we're seeing that if we have questions, we might look at it. So I think, yeah, just pick which one you best think indicates your business and then move on. That's my suggestion.
Right. And in the chat actually stated a little more information, and it does sound like you would be a private business. Also, for anyone on the call, if you list the organization and you've realized, oh, that is not correct. Again, this is one of those areas that you can go back and edit and change. So if you put something, go, you know what, maybe it was we all sometimes click the wrong thing. Even if you just click on something, the majority of the fields in the grant, you actually can go back and edit. So as you're doing something, if you want to do just again, oh, I miskeyed, I misclicked, or I just was incorrect, you can always go back and edit the vast majority of your application. All right, we have one more question. We have a couple of things popping in the chat. Do we want to go ahead and answer these now? Do we want to do the walkthrough, then come back to them? I'm asking for as far as our panel.
I think let's do the walkthrough.
Okay.
And then we'll go to these because I think some of these are a little more general. So let's get our Iowa grant stuff done and then we can answer all questions.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So with that, again, I am going to now turn this over to Mr. Patrick, who again show us in our website. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. And Patrick, it is all yours, sir.
All right. Thanks very much, Brian. All right. And I'm about ready to share my screen. So hopefully everybody is seeing a web page that just says welcome to IowaGrants.gov. Is that correct? Awesome. Okay. So again, my name is Patrick Rice. I'm the grant administrator with IWD. If you do have any questions specifically about Iowa grants, those questions would come to either myself or Brian. If it's more, if the questions are more focused on the program aspect of things, those questions would be best suited to either Kathy or Ryan with DHS. Kathy here at IWD and Ryan with DHS. And that information, their contact information is provided in the notice of funding opportunity. So if you do have questions specifically about the program, they would be the best people to forward those questions on to. Okay, so just to do a quick walkthrough of Iowa grants. You can see that on the main screen here, you either can sign up as log in as a returning user or register as the new user here. We're going to anticipate that we are returning users, so we're going to go ahead and select our returning user option. This is where we type in our account ID and password. Again, let me move that real quick. There we go. Again, on the screen, you can type in your account ID and your password. So go ahead and type that information in, sign in, and it will automatically direct you to the home screen. Now, the home screen, this is what everyone's home screen should look like. You can also get here by clicking the menu or also the home option there as well. As Brian stated, we're interested in the funding opportunities, or you can also preview your started. So we're going to start with pretending that this is a new, we're starting our application at the very beginning. So we're going to select funding opportunities. And that's going to take us to that screen that Brian mentioned is every single grant that the state of Iowa is currently offering through Iowa Grants. So you can see that this list is quite long. The easiest way, again, is to do the Control F option, and you can see that the little find screen popped up. You can type in Future Ready Iowa. You can type in childcare, like this, like Brian said, but make sure that if you do type in childcare, that those are two separate words, and also realize that that's going to look for every single grant that has something to do with child or with care in there. So one thing I quickly found out that if I typed in future for Future Ready Iowa, this is currently the only grant that pops up for Future Ready Iowa, or you can also type in that number, the grant, the notice of funding opportunity grant number, which is the 452557. But again, if we type in future for Future Ready Iowa, you can see future is highlighted, and it takes us right to the 2022 Child Care Business Incentive Grant. To select that notice of funding opportunity, you select the blue link, and that will pop up the notification or notice of funding opportunity information. Again, you can see my contact information there. I'm not important. It is just because I was the person that entered this into Iowa Grants. So again, if you have specific questions about Iowa Grants, you can forward those to either myself or Brian. You can scroll through the notice of funding opportunity. There are a couple things I would like to highlight just so you are aware of this information. Again, the deadline, July 18th, that's going to be an important date, and that 11:59 a.m. Submission time. So right there at the very beginning, be sure that you are aware that that is the deadline for submitting this application. Areas that you might want to focus in on are the definitions, number 5, especially when it comes to an employer. So that way you understand what this terminology means, as well as the map for the childcare deserts. If you scroll through a little bit more, you'll see the use of funds. There are 2 different types of use of funds, and so you can either select the additional slots or the infrastructure option. So you will have to select one of those 2 options when you're submitting your grant application. Again, number 6 talks about the cost sharing component of it for the infrastructure, as well as the cost sharing for the slot grant. Reporting requirements in number 7, and eligible applicants. I think this is a key piece to be aware of if you are eligible or not. Just remember that the individual employers consortium, there has to be a minimum of 75 employees. And if you're part of a consortium, it does not mean that each employer has to have 75. It just means that there has to be a minimum of 75 employees as part of that consortium. And there we go. So like Brian had mentioned, the attachments are listed at the bottom as well. Again, this is for the notice of funding opportunities. So if you want to quickly review any of those attachments, those blue links will take you to each one of those. All right, so that is just a quick overview of the notice of funding opportunity screen. And now I've read through everything, I qualify, I'm super excited about this opportunity, and I want to start a new application. All you have to do is select the new app, start a new application option, and that'll take us to the very first screen where Brian had said that these most of the stuff auto-populates. So your name as a registered applicant, your organization will auto-populate, and all you have to do is type in a title, okay? So if you type in your title and click save, it'll take you to the next screen to start applying for this grant and start submitting your information. Like Brian said, this does not have to be done in one setting. If you feel like I've started my application and I need to take a breather because this has just been too much for me right now, I need to go and do something, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you hit save, log out, and then when you come back in, you can go to the continue your application. So we're going to actually pretend that we're doing that at this point now. So we're going to go back to our home screen. So again, that's just our menu button. We've already saved our application, and now I want to go back into my application that I've already started and start adding more components to it. So instead of funding opportunities, at this point, I would select my applications. Once you select my applications, you'll come to a new screen that should list every single saved application that you have in Iowa Grants. Right now, I only have one because I'm working on the funding opportunity for the Child Care Business Incentive Grant. And the application that I started earlier was called Test for Webinar. So instead of collecting or selecting the funding opportunity, I'm going to be selecting the project title because this is the title of my application. You can also see that it's in the editing status over to the left as well. Once I select my application, you can see that same screen that Brian showed us of the different components and the different requirements for your application. The general information you can see is completed. I completed that today. If I want to go in and change any part of that information, which again, the only thing I can change is the title, which is this section right here, I can go into that edit button, and that takes me back to the original screen where I can change the title here as well. Okay. If I ever want to go back and not go back to the main home screen, you can just select the back arrow button, and that'll take you back to this the different sections of your application. You do have to make sure that all of these are completed in order to have a completed application submission. So when you select one of the options, you can select, say, let's just look at the cover sheet general information. We'll pull that information up. If I want to start editing it and start entering information, I just select the edit button. As I'm typing, I always want to make sure that I hit save to make sure that I'm saving as I go. And then if I'm complete, that you can just go ahead and mark it as complete. You can always go back and edit if it is marked complete and you find an error. You can also go back and edit. So marking it complete does not mean that you're submitting that section. It simply just means that you're keeping track of I have completed that section. All right. A couple areas I want to call out is the Child Care Challenge option here. This is going to be kind of the meat of of this application. There's going to be lots of questions that you have to answer ahead of time. And then this is also where you start entering in your information about the project description, the program narrative, measurements and evaluation, organization sustainability, and capability narrative. So this is going to be the main section of this grant opportunity. So this may be that one of those sections where you hit save multiple times, so you can keep on going back in and edit it at a later date. And the last section I want to make sure I call out is that application attachment section. This will list the 4 areas of the 4 attachments that you do have to make sure are submitted with your application. The budget spreadsheet template is provided for you. Again, you can find that in the notice of a funding opportunity at the very bottom where we saw those attachments initially. You have to have your letters of commitment or letter of support. Again, like Brian stated, that the best way to do that is to scan them all in as one PDF and submit it as one document, one PDF document that has all your letters of support or letters of commitment attached to it. Your supporting documentation and matching funds. as well as your project plan. Now, the project plan is also a template-based attachment. So be sure that you select the project plan attachment, and that's what you actually attach. And again, to find where those attachments are, you can go back to the notice of funding opportunity. The easiest way to get back to that home screen is just select the menu or home option, and that'll take you back to where you can select the funding opportunities. Again, Control F to find to do a quick search for Future Ready Iowa, child care business incentives, and at the very bottom of the notice of funding opportunity are the appendices. You can see that there are some more appendices attached to this, more than what you need to submit. The FAQs are listed here, the program guidance, and one area I would definitely want to make sure that we call out to you is the scoring rubric, Appendix C. If you select Appendix C and go ahead and open that attachment, you will see exactly the format and the layout that we're looking for a completed application. So when you are writing your grant application, please make sure you stick in this format and follow these bullet points. Provide as much documentation and as much description as you can. So that way, if there are any questions, we can find that within what you have submitted. So please make sure you visit the scoring rubric Appendix C, so that way you know what we're looking for, as well as how many points each section is worth. And then again, you can see that the private funds documentation is required. Application will not be scored without it. So please make sure you submit those required attachments. Again, those are the budget narrative, the project plan narrative, the letters of support, and the private funds documentation. All right. So that is just a quick walkthrough, a quick demo of what Iowa Grants actually looks like. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll turn it back over to Kathy and Karen.
Thank you so much. Brian and Patrick, thank you both so much. I think we're so fortunate that we have them and that they were willing to do this, because I think they do such a great job of just walking you through step by step. And this is being recorded. We will post it on that child care website. We will also post the slides that Brian used, if that's okay, Brian, I hope. Okay, perfect. So even I think if you want right now, you can just literally listen to this and start your application. Stop it when you're ready to go, whatever. So hopefully this is helpful to you. We don't want anybody to get strung up on the process here. We want you to be able to get your applications in. So I think now we can just go ahead and go to the questions that we have and see if we can get some answers. We'll answer what we can not answer right now. And I think we'll do the same thing. Karen, if you can help too, we can, what we've done before with the webinars is make sure that we collect all the questions and do post an answer on our website as well, so that everybody has access to what questions were asked and answered. So let's plan on that, but let's go ahead. I'm gonna check in here. Oh, okay. All right. I'm just going to start reading, and then whoever's appropriate, let's answer it or give our thoughts on it. Okay, let's just go with that. First one here. I'm in the questions and answers right now. So we are partnering with an established child care center to open 60 new child care slots for our employees. The cost to our organization is $312 per year. Can we ask for $250? We have given the child care center, we are partnering with 30,000 to help purchase equipment to furnish. Can we add that to our grant request? And then the child care center we are partnering with has received funds from the state of Iowa within the last. Do I report on the progress of those two grants? So anybody jump in here. And again, we'll get these written and posted. The cost to the organization is I'm trying to see, we've given, it's kind of a couple of questions in there. I think you can ask for up to 250,000, but you would have to be having the budget match that, you know, your private dollars will need to equal 250,000, and it will have to be in the eligible expenses category that is in the notice of funding. So, and then the max for the slots is the 2,000. So I think the answer is yes, you can ask for that, but it depends on what you're posting in your budget and what are the eligible expenses and does it meet the grant and all of those other things. But yes, you can ask for up to 250,000. The 30,000 that has already been utilized. I don't, Karen, do you know? I know we've had some questions about the dates of purchase of land and stuff that's back a little bit. Do you know the answer to this one, or else I'm going to want to get with finance to this?
I believe it goes back to July of 2021.
Yep, that's in the question. Others, but
so as
yeah.
long as the expense was incurred that date, then you have to provide proof of the cost incurred. I believe that is, I know it is for land back to that date, and I think it's all costs incurred.
Okay, so it sounds like the answer is yes. Again, check back in a few days and we'll have a specific answer posted for these. If the childcare, in regard to that they've already received funds and do they need to report, that the reporting for the other grants is a separate process. So that is not part of this grant process. So yes, the other projects will be reporting, but that's on a different timeline and with a different document. So that doesn't have anything to do with this one in particular. So can more than one person work on the same application? Can Patrick, you or Brian take that question, please?
Sorry, I had to get off my.
Same thing. I was trying to get unmuted.
Sure.
Yes, so yes, you can. What I do believe you're allowed to do is you can have more than one person registered as part of the application. So you can go into the application. I believe more than one individual can work on the application. When you establish the application, what you have to do is again you have to list more than one person as being able to work on it. Let's say Patrick and I, which we actually do, maybe working on more than one grant application or submittal at the same time, we're both listed as people that can go in and edit it. So what may be useful for whoever asks this question, if you go in and try and add, make sure that whoever else is going to be on it, make sure they're also registered and they're attached. If you find there's a hiccup with that, contact us. We can definitely walk you through that as well. Great.
Thank you. Next question that we have here. Sorry, just a second. Something came up in my, I can't read it. Okay, I saw in the application that it specifies. There we go. I saw in the application that it specifies partnerships with local childcare providers. Can businesses partner with and bring in national childcare providers? Should that provide the best suit the needs of the project? The answer to that would be yes. All right, let's see. Let's go to the others. Let me see. Right. Okay. Okay, I think we answered the one about the how you log your business in. Okay, we are in the beginning stages of starting a daycare at our church, but we are not licensed yet. Can we still apply for this grant? Yes, you can. You have to if you are granted part of the, well, let me say two things. Number one, you have to be an employer. So the employers are the applicants for this grant. So if you're starting the daycare, you are not the applicant unless you have to be an employer meeting the definition of more than 75 full-time employees or part of a consortium. So, and then as part of this fund, if projects are funded that are not currently licensed or registered, that will be part, if they're funded, that will be part of the MOU and the grant agreement. That will have to happen before the project is finished. That will be one of the stipulations. So if you're partnering with somebody or you're developing it and you don't have a registered or licensed center yet, you can apply if you meet the eligibility criteria and everything else. Just know though that is going to be a requirement. Anything else to add, Karen?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Oops, sorry here. What are specifics? What are specifics will make us stand out to help us receive the most funding opportunities? Well, I think really it goes back to that notice of funding and to the grant application guidance. And then Patrick also showed, I think, both Patrick and Brian, where you can see the scoring rubric and the grant guidance. I really encourage you, those documents are telling you exactly what is being looked for and how it's being scored in the application. So there's not a specific thing, but what I would suggest is you really want to follow those to the T, and you want to provide detailed answers. Long doesn't mean detailed. Detailed is detailed. Concise and detailed is great. Writing more is not necessarily better. So stick to what's being asked and provide as detailed and concise answers as you can. And follow the scoring rubric. That's the best advice I can give you. And so, oh, good. So we've got, if needed, here's the doc for the question and answer. That's great. Let me go to next. Okay, this question, if we partner with XYZ business and they have 25 employees at their business in Davenport and 50 in another county in Iowa, does that count toward the 75 employees? That's a great question. I think that I feel like I would have to go to legal with this question for sure. I think that if it's one entity and that entity has 75 employees full time, then you probably meet that definition. But I'm not going to say yes or no for sure. So that's one we'll post for sure. And the other thing I would say is remember to consider that consortiums, we really are looking and encouraging partnerships as well with other employers, because there may be other employers not far from that location in Davenport or in that area who are also in need of childcare services. So you could partner with them and meet the 75 criteria in that location, but we will post that. I don't feel comfortable answering that until I get an answer from legal. Can you provide
Kathy?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd say I would add to that. I think the intent is that the business has 75 employees in that area so that it's supporting the project. So think of it, and we'll still get an answer from legal, but it's more that project location, the employer in that location has that many employees that are seeking potentially childcare. So.
Yep, agreed. I think that intent is definitely part of what is, when the grants are being looked at. So yes, I think that's about very valuable comment. Okay, so next one, can you provide a sample set of responses for the project plan? I saw this come up earlier, and you know what? Yes, I'll do that. It's going to be really general, but if it will be helpful to just say, so people kind of get an idea of how to use the project plan, I'm happy to do that. So that you got to have to give me a few days and we'll get a really generic example of that posted on our website. So check back, please. Can we go over the letters of support, please? So I wonder if one of you guys can pull up what it says in the note, at least let's start with what information's in there.
Yeah, I wrote this down. I saw that one come through. If you go to Appendix B, so Appendix B as in Bravo, and look at number 7 and number 8, those do specify a little bit more in detail about what are some things, who you should be reaching out to for MOUs or for the letters of support. You can also look under Appendix A at the very bottom, which talks about the program guidance, or I'm sorry, Appendix A is the program guidance. And at the very bottom, it talks a little bit more about the letters of commitment or letters of support. I would start in those two appendices first. and to see if they might answer some of your questions. So Appendix A and
Yes.
Appendix B.
Okay, and what number was it on Appendix B?
I think it was number 7 and number 8.
I was just looking at that, sorry, let me just take a second here.
So Appendix B is the FAQs.
AQ, yeah,
Yep. And under number 7, it says who can apply for the grants. It starts talking towards the bottom about applicants are strongly encouraged to cultivate partnerships to enhance the project activities and outcomes. So that could be somebody to reach out to for letters of support. Number 8
Right.
starts talking about the consortium documentation of all employer partnerships will be required. So so if you have those as maybe as like starting
guidance.
as a guidance for
Yep.
for who to reach out to.
And then here's the other thing, because I was thinking about this as well, and I'll commit to doing this with the project plan. I'll also do maybe like a draft letter template or some, just to give a little more specifics of a guidance that people could use for partners, because we're looking for letters of people who are committed to the project. We're not looking for letters that say you do a good business. That's not what we're attesting to. We need letters of people who are committed to. So if you're an employer and you're applying and you're going to partner with, let's say, XYZ childcare center, we need a letter from that childcare center saying, this is what our partnership looks like. This is what we've agreed, that type of thing. So I will also try and provide some additional information on that. Thank you so much for referring, telling us where to find that, Patrick. Karen, anything else on that before we move on? Oops. Okay. The next question is, who is the best person to talk to ask caregiver provider questions? Caregiver provider questions. We are a childcare provider. Well, I would recommend Ryan Page at the Department of Human Services. She is out right now. And so Wendy, if you email her, you'll get Wendy Hogamil. I'm not sure I'm saying her last name right. You'll get her email as the point of reference over there. So that's would be my recommendation, is to, and Ryan Page's information is in the notice of and everything, as well as a contact person. So I would send an email to her and then grab Wendy's email from there and contact her. Regarding the private documentation, is a letter from our chief financial officer attesting to the availability of funds sufficient to this. We are fortunate. Yep. Yes, I'm going to say the CFO would, because I think we have a CPA guideline on there, but the CFO from your company, a letter would be fine as the documentation of that. What happens if center partners with a business and they close or go bankrupt? What happens if a partner with a business and I sell my business? Will the new owner be able to? So I think part of this is looked at in the sustainability planning. That's why this is a really key part of this application, because these are, as many of the other grants have been, one time coming through the federal government. And so the intent is wanting to use these to do those one time or try this, get it set up, but how are you going to sustain it? So I just wanted to highlight that first. The sustainability is going to be an important part of this. What if somebody goes bankrupt? Well, we hope that doesn't happen. There is no guarantee of anything, in this type of thing. So I think we just have to deal with those issues as they come up. If the business is sold, then I think that's an issue we would deal with legal. That would be a legal question as well. Hopefully we would have notice of that this is happening, and here's the person who will be the contact and take over. But that's a question that I would want to send to legal too, and then we'll post an answer on that for sure. If I partner with my center XYZ business, and they purchase 10 slots and it's approved through the grant, do those slots have to be used for XYZ employees, or can my partner business allow employees that I hire to use those slots? That's a question that I would shoot over to DHS. So I'll work with Wendy on getting an answer since that's a slots program question. So I'll work with her and we'll get that posted. We are wanting to open our own facility to offer this for our employees so we can help retention and recruitment. Yep, that's great. Would a letter from our accountant or CFO to just, yes. Yep. We have to have the same amount as the match. Yes, that is correct. Yes. So the answer to those, I believe, are yes. Do you have a sample contract to review between childcare providers and businesses to form this collaboration? We do not. But again, I'm making note of that and we'll address this question. If we can provide a sample, we will do that. So let me see. And if not, we'll try and provide more additional information. Can you please elaborate on what provider would qualify as a national provider? I can't elaborate very well because that would be a DHS question, but what I can share is that we have had a couple of applicants, and I do think on our last webinar, so you may want to take a look at that. Ryan just talked about this because there are, I believe, some national companies, businesses that they're kind of based in a national model for providing childcare services. And so we have had somebody ask, can we go to whatever that would be called, Childcare USA, and they can help us on our site, since we're in the business of doing manufacturing, but we want to have childcare. Can Business USA help us set up and license that childcare center? So the answer to that is yes. There's nothing that says that can't happen. I do think that Ryan in our last webinar was encouraging at least reaching out and finding local contacts for a variety of reasons, of which I can't repeat off the top of my head just because I can't remember. So that's an example. And before we go, I know we have 2 minutes left, so we're going to have to wrap it up, and we'll capture the questions and again get things posted as quickly as we can. I do want to encourage you, if you have not listened to the first or second webinar, please consider listening to those, because a lot of questions come up, a lot of things like that question Ryan addressed. And some other different things that come up that may cause concern, Ryan addressed in the last webinar. So there's a lot of good information in those, as well as question and answers that came up in both webinars are all posted on our website. So I definitely want to encourage you to use those resources, use your notice of funding, follow that. And then I am going to, let's see, we own a business not related to childcare and a childcare. Would we qualify? We've had, yeah. The answer that I've had in this question is yes. If you own a business that is not childcare, that business entity can be an applicant if they meet the eligible requirements. But so that is possible. So then we've got to remember a reminder of the web page, which is great. And then let's see, I'm just looking real quick to see if we have anything else that's related to the Iowa grants, since we have you guys on with us.
So Kathy, you skipped over one about,
yes.
Can you describe what can be used for the in-kind contributions by employers? For instance, would it be allowable for employers to cover rent for an extended period of time, or to provide construction, labor, etc.?
Yes, those are examples of in-kind. What can be used as in-kind. You have to have like a current value put on those. We're working to see how to do that as well. But those type of things can be used. And then we're going to have to cut off here, just because I know that we try and really respect the time limits we set for these. So we will get the rest of these answered again on our website, and keep checking, look at the questions and answers. And thank you. I want to thank so much Karen for joining us, and then Brian and Patrick. You have great resources in both of them. So please reach out if you have questions for Iowa Grants, and we'll continue to try and do everything we can with this new evolving grant opportunity. So as you know, we don't have all the answers either, but we're working as hard as we can to get them to you. And we appreciate all your interest. So thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day.